An appeal date is set for Brittney Griner in Russia. An update on efforts to free the WNBA star is ahead. Plus, I connect with Sigourney Weaver to break down her new film, The Good House. And an icon of the 1960s and 1970s is being celebrated in Hollywood. That's all coming up on Advocate Today. Hello and welcome to Advocate Today. I'm your host, Tracy E. Gilchrist, and we're going to get right to it. We reported on our last episode that the 9 justices returned to the bench as the Supreme Court began a new term. The return to the court comes as many hot-button issues are on the ballot in November. Now, a voting rights case from Alabama is being taken up by the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court will review a lower court opinion that invalidated Alabama's congressional map. Out of 7 congressional districts, only 1 is majority Black, even though Black voters account for 27% of the voting population. The federal court ordered another district to be drawn, but in February, the conservative Supreme Court blocked the ruling. The Supreme Court will now hear the case this term. This act of gerrymandering against the Black voting population has voting rights activists on edge about what precedent it could set. As it currently stands, the situation in Alabama makes it harder to participate in the political process and further entrenches the racial divide. We'll provide updates on this case as they happen. A Moscow regional court has an appeal date for WNBA star Brittney Griner. Court records show that Griner will be back in court on October 25th. Griner was sentenced to 9 years for smuggling drugs into Russia. She was arrested with less than 1 gram of cannabis oil in her luggage at Moscow's airport in February. The calls to free the basketball star remain strong. Analysts say Griner now plays a larger role as Vladimir Putin searches for leverage against the United States. Turning to entertainment, if you know me, you know I love Sigourney Weaver. Some of her films are some of my favorites. I was so excited to speak to her about her new film, The Good House. In it, Weaver stars as Hildy, a high-end realtor from the Boston area who works to balance relationships, work, and expectations. I had the pleasure of speaking with Sigourney about the themes of the film, including how it relates to moments in her life. The film is so multifaceted and just touches on so many important pieces of our culture. And also there's the idea that Hildy is a woman of a certain age who has made a life for herself. She's made a life for her family. And, for a little while, her daughters clearly love her, but they're also angry with her. And there's this expectation that is put on women to be perfect in ways that, not everyone needs to be. And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about that.
I think so. I have a daughter. Say no more. No, I love that scene with my daughters where we have a kind of confrontation. And, my younger daughter, played by Molly Brown, talks about how embarrassed she was that I danced with her friends when she graduated from college. She said it was because I was drunk. And I said, no, I just like to dance. What's wrong with dancing? So you see Hildy really fighting back. And I think it's one of the reasons we like her is because she does fight back, even if it means she has to keep a kind of protected idea of herself. But I was on Hildy's side like the entire time. And honestly, even I, the actor, because I believed in Hildy's right to have a drink, God damn it, I was like, oh my God, I'm enabling this woman by listening to her late at night. And it caught me by surprise. And I think that's very useful in the movie because I think these things do catch you by surprise. You suddenly go, oh, gosh. And it can be a very painful journey ahead.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. One thing I also enjoyed about this film is this friendship between Rebecca and Hildy. And, Rebecca goes off the rails a little bit and hurts Hildy. But I love that rather than it just be these women warring, that Rebecca comes back and extends an olive branch and apologizes and says, I was wrong, which I think is so important to see. And would you talk a little bit about that, showing these women who can come together in some way?
Well, I think it's wonderful that Hildy finds a friend in Rebecca, someone who accepts her, doesn't judge her for having a drink, and commiserates with her a little bit about her husband dumping her for a guy, and they actually have fun together. They bond. It's so great to see Hildy let her hair down and relax with another woman and be there for her as Rebecca is for her. And it does go off the rails a bit. But Rebecca does try to make amends. And I think that is very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. And of course, the cast is wonderful, and you get to reunite with Kevin Kline. And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about working with Kevin Kline. And I've interviewed Rebecca Henderson. I just love her. So I wonder if you would speak
me
to that.
Too. Love Rebecca. Rebecca played also, I just did a movie called Call Jane.
Yes.
And Rebecca is in that ensemble. I'm a huge fan of Rebecca's work. Well, I've known Kevin forever and I love him. I love his work. We really trust each other and we really kind of pick up where we leave off. We enjoy each other's company. We laugh at each other's jokes. We tease each other like mad. And so those scenes between them, I think, are very genuine. There's a lot of affection there anyway. And, what Frank does for Hildy, Frank is this kind of guy who doesn't care what people think.
Yeah. And
Hildy can't imagine feeling like that because she cares so much what people think after the childhood she had and everything. So it's really, he's like a revelation to Hildy and one that she has to, takes her a long time to realize that it's for real and that he's not going anywhere. And it's kind of a miracle, but she also has to earn it. She has to get herself together in order to have a full life. And she, finally she says to Frank, I don't feel like I need to have 3 drinks to be myself with you. And that's a big deal.
It's really moving. Yeah. I have to wrap. Thank you so much for this conversation. I loved your performance in the film. I loved the film. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. It means a lot to me.
Sigourney was so lovely to speak with, and I want to thank her again for taking the time. You can catch her and the rest of the cast of The Good House in theaters now. In entertainment, we've also got some sad news to report. Country music legend Loretta Lynn has died. Lynn, known as the Queen of Country Music, died at her Tennessee home Tuesday, according to a statement from her family. Lynn's 7-decade-plus career in music started shortly after she picked up a $17 guitar from Sears. By 1970, she had written the autobiographical Coal Miner's Daughter, which became her signature song. It also later became a best-selling book and hit movie starring Sissy Spacek. Spacek won the Oscar for it that year. Among some of Lynn's other classics are Out of My Head and Back in My Bed and We've Come a Long Way, Baby. Lynn was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1988 and released her 46th solo album, Still Woman Enough, in 2021. Loretta Lynn was 90 years old. Loretta's life and music will certainly live on forever. Our hearts go out to her family and friends at this time. And lastly today, another unforgettable musician is having her legacy cemented on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Mama Cass Elliott was posthumously honored with the 2,735th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Mama Cass was a member of the Mamas and Papas and had so many hits to her name, almost too many to mention. She died in 1974 at the age of 32 from a heart attack, but her legacy as a staple of 60s and 70s music will live on now with her star on Hollywood Boulevard. The quest to have a star laid for Mama Cass was spearheaded by her daughter, and approval for the star came back in 2015. As a fan, I'm thrilled that Mama Cass is receiving the recognition she deserves. That's all the time we have for This Advocate today. For more coverage and content, the Advocate channel is streaming now on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV. You can also download our app on your Android or Apple devices. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.